Signs of a functioning alcoholic. And I have never done a video on this before, and I wanted to share my personal signs of what it was like being a functioning alcoholic and some of the signs to maybe look for. I share this for educational purposes only. I've never shared on this before because I didn't think it was important, but the more that I have helped with people in recovery, the more I realize the importance of at least identifying maybe what kind of problem somebody may have, or if you have a problem per se, but they are, again, a functioning member of society. That alcohol is still that driving force behind it. And again, I've been sober 7/25/17. Alcohol and cocaine were my drugs of choice. I will say that it's hard to share this because it puts me back of what it was like to be an alcoholic like this. If you're new to the channel, hit the like and subscribe button. The first sign that somebody's a functioning alcoholic is we are always going to smell like alcohol at work. That odor is always going to be coming off of us. When you're drinking a lot of vodka, it doesn't matter what you're drinking, whether it's vodka, whether it is beer, alcohol, any of that, it comes out of you. And at a certain point, every morning, somebody's going to constantly be smelling like alcohol. It's going to reek out of their system. You can't hide it. You can try and put on, cologne. I used to smoke a lot of cigarettes, anything you can do to try and mask this, and it will become kind of a running joke. Anybody who's an alcoholic, we're going to blow this off. We'll let you know that, hey, maybe we drank a little hard, too much that night, whatever it might be. We're just going to do what we can to lie through it, but we will always smell like alcohol. Another sign is that we are always going to have bloodshot eyes. Drinking a lot of alcohol is going to give you those bloodshot eyes. It's also going to hit a lot of your blood vessels. Your nose is typically going to be red. This is just signs of massive alcohol use. Now, a functioning alcoholic, though, we're always going to be at work. We're always going to be there, usually on time, if not pretty close to on time. And we will work very hard and due diligent. These are going to be typical traits of us whenever it comes to, getting into work. Now, when it comes to lunchtime, we're off the clock mentally. So functioning alcoholics will typically go and have to drink more because you can go into DTs. It's also not necessarily uncommon for functioning alcoholics to bring alcohol to work. You go to McDonald's or you go to a restaurant, fast food, whatever, get a cup to go, and you're going to put vodka in there. You're going to put something that hopefully is kind of odorless and be drinking that throughout the day. It's not uncommon for functioning alcoholics to be drinking at work. They're always going to have a drink that's typically not clear. It'll typically be in a cup of some sort, and that's what they're going to be drinking out of, and it will be alcohol, or it will be mixed with something. Huge sign of a functioning alcoholic. Typically, always on lunch will be drinking. After work, always going to go to the liquor store. There's always a stop at the liquor store after work. You have to unwind. It's always a conversation of, this just helps me unwind. It was a hard day. There's always a reason why you need alcohol that day. You can always come up with a reason, whether it was a stressful day, it was a harder day than normal, or it was a good day and you want to celebrate. There's always going to be alcohol involved in everything that you're doing. When it comes to getting ready in the morning, there's typically drinking in the morning. Morning beers are common. I used to have a lot of morning beers where you're actually getting ready, showering in the morning, and you're drinking a beer before work just to take off the edge. And drinking a beer before work does eventually sometimes progress to the point that I was drinking vodka before work. I would stop at a liquor store and I would get Red Bull, sugar-free because I wanted to be healthy, and a case of 99 bananas. And I would drink that on my way into work. I would use the Red Bull as a chaser, drinking the straight 99 bananas, and that would help keep me out of going into DTs. That is a sign of a functioning alcoholic, is that you have a stable job, you have a stable work history, you are a reliable employee, you don't call in sick very often. You always will show up. I mean, that is part of being functioning. You're always waking up with your alarm. You are always getting the job done. You're always coming home, after work, but alcohol's always involved, and that smell of alcohol is always there. You're always drinking, especially if you're not at work, you're always going to be drinking. A lot of times because you're drinking so much, it is hard to eat if you don't have enough alcohol in your system. So sometimes you have to drink a little bit more at the end of the day when you get home to get yourself to where you can actually eat. These are signs of alcoholism and of a functioning alcoholic. And I don't like to necessarily diagnose anybody, but a lot of times we just blow this stuff off and we don't think it's anything bad. We don't think that somebody really has a problem. Their home life's rough. They just drink a lot at night. It was a hard week at work. And when you really stop to think about it and realize how much they are drinking, you're like, well, wait a minute, it's a hard day at work every day, even on their days off. But it's so hard to identify because you think of of an addict as somebody who is just consumed by this not working, homeless, jobless, where there's tons of functioning alcoholics out there. It is a coping mechanism, and that's one of the hard parts about it. It takes the edge off of a lot of things, especially when it comes to like sales, it comes to catering and restaurants, it comes to construction. It takes away some pain, it numbs. There's a lot of unhealthy coping that is involved when it comes to alcohol. Unfortunately, because of, some of these laborious jobs, you can't fully tell if somebody's drunk or not, and you can pull them off pretty well. I know a lot of people who were able to be drunk and still perform at their job at a good level. And so to necessarily say it's wrong to be this way, I don't necessarily think is the correct thing. I am a recovering alcoholic personally. I don't think it's our place necessarily to diagnose anybody, and that's what this is. This isn't to diagnose, this is to educate, because I know a lot of family out there try to understand addiction. Even addicts, we try to understand addiction to make it make sense a little bit, because it's very insane. The insanity of addiction is real. These signs are just so oblivious, but they're so blatant. And because somebody is constantly pulling in a paycheck, constantly pulling their weight at home, constantly pulling their weight around the house, constantly, being a decent dad or wife, showing up to kids' events, all of that, that is signs that, you don't think that person's an alcoholic, because a alcoholic would be pulled away from all that, constantly using. There's a lot of parents that I know that will show up to the kids' baseball games, all that. They're drunk. They're going to continually be drinking, but they're there. And that is one of the things that is signs of a functioning alcoholic, is that it's not to the point that it has completely taken over their entire life, that obsessiveness hasn't taken over their life, but they're constantly drinking. And it does, I think at one point, maybe you lose control over it. It does go a little too far. You do get a DUI. I mean, you are putting other people at risk anytime you get behind the wheel, especially if you have little kids that you're driving. I mean, there's a lot of dangers that really come around it. And as a functioning alcoholic, we justify a lot of this. And you justify that it is okay, that I've only had a couple beers. 4 or 5 shots counts as one shot to a functioning alcoholic. Our math isn't mathing right when it comes to our drinking. It is just normal for us. This is just how it is. And that's the danger behind it. I mean, it is a scary place to be. Addiction to me is a scary place to be. I know what it was like to be heavily addicted. And at a certain point, I couldn't control my addiction anymore. I could not control my drinking anymore. I couldn't control my drug use anymore. But for a while, I really thought that I had it under control. And even when I lost control of all of it, I was still a functioning addict. I was still always showing up for work. I was very rarely calling in sick or missing any kind of work, because that paycheck mattered to me. Being a husband, whatever, mattered to me. Trying to be a productive human in society mattered to me. So it was a constant trying to find this balance of self-medicating though through it. And that's scary. It's a scary place to be. It's a very lonely place to be. And it's a place that you're constantly lying. And they might seem like these little white lies, like, oh, I just drank a lot last night and, I'm still kind of hungover, ha, ha, ha. And then you're drinking some orange juice at work with a little bit of vodka in it to try and take a little hair off the dog. That's my favorite line, a little hair off the dog. We want to drink more. How about that? How about we just call it what it is? We want to drink more. We are not drunk enough. These are signs of functioning alcoholism. If you haven't hit the like and subscribe button, hit the like and subscribe button. Comment down below, because that's why I share. I share my experiences. I share signs like this for, the educational purposes of, maybe it helps a family member out there start to realize how insane this is, or to identify that maybe I need to set healthy boundaries with somebody for the person out there struggling of how to even get sober. I mean, the more that we hear and share stories and share experiences and share this, the more that it starts that conversation even of how to get sober and ideas to get sober, because there's no right or wrong way to getting sober. And that's one of the things I think it's really important to share about, is we always are like, well, how do I get sober? How do I change my life? Or how do I clean up? Man, we all get sober different ways. And that's the beauty of it, though. That's the challenge and beauty, is there is no right or wrong way to get sober. It's your way to get sober, whether it's inpatient treatment, outpatient treatment, therapy, therapist, medication, going to NA, going to AA, finding what works for you, all of the above. None of the above, and something else that maybe I didn't even mention is how you get sober. And it's about not giving up, and about the desire, though, to want to quit, and the fight to want to quit. And that is what it's truly about. So for the one out there going through it, I am proud of you, man. Don't give up. Comment your experiences down below. And the more that we learn about this, the more that you know about it, the better that you are to go, I don't want this life anymore, and maybe you want a different life. Because I can tell you this, my sober life, it wasn't easy and it wasn't great right away. In fact, it wasn't great for a couple years, but it does become a beautiful life.